In this class, we'll try to learn about functional organization of gastrointestinal system. Food particles that enter GI tract as a larger molecules like polysaccharides, proteins, fats must be broken down into smaller absorbable molecules in the lumen of stomach and intestine to cross GI epithelium and enter blood. Though a person can survive on parenteral, usually intravenous nutrition, this restricts the mobility of the individual and requires assistance for connecting intravenous infusion. Therefore, parenteral nutrition is advocated temporarily in patients who can't eat or in whom oral feeding is prohibited due to some other cause. Physiologically, GI functions have three aspects: secretion, motility, digestion, and absorption. When food enters GI system, starting from the mouth cavity, exocrine secretions, that is GI secretion, pour into the tract. GI secretions are mainly salivary, gastric, pancreatic, biliary, and intestinal. These secretions contain enzymes that split various food materials into their absorbable form. So this is called as digestion of the food. The process of grinding and mixing is initiated when food is present in the oral cavity. So this is called as uh, because of GI motility. So GI motility occurs because of the contraction of the smooth muscle in the wall of the gastrointestinal tract that produces various movements of the tract, and this is called as GI motility. Adequate chewing of the food and effective gastric and intestinal motilities help in grinding food particles and facilitate their mixing with the digestive juices. GI motility also exposes the chyme, that is digested food, to the epithelial surface of the intestine for their transfer into general circulation. So this is called as absorption of food. GI motility is essential for propulsion of the food in aboral direction. The food materials are digested uh, by various enzymes present in the GI secretion. The digested food particles are presented thoroughly to the epithelial surface of intestine from where they are absorbed into the circulation. So here are some of the functions of GI tract to enumerate: digestion and absorption of the food. The primary function of GI system are to digest food materials and absorb essential nutrients of digestive products into bloodstream. Excretion of waste materials. Digestive tract excretes waste material in the form of feces. Fecal matter includes mainly the excretory products of digestion and undigested food particles. Fluid and electrolyte balance. On an average, uh, an adult consumes 1 kg of food and 1.5 liters of water per day. An additional amount of 7 liters of fluid is secreted into GI tract in the form of secretion from various exocrine glands. Thus, intestine is presented with about 8.5 liters of fluid per day. About 99% of this fluid and 90% of the solids are absorbed in small and large intestine along with absorption of various electrolytes, so that only about 100 ml of liquid and 100 grams of solids are excreted in the feces per day. Decreased absorption of water uh, content results in dehydration. Diarrhea can occur when capacity of intestine to absorb fluid is decreased or secretion of the fluid is increased. The other important function is immunity. The GI tract approximately a 15 feet tube which is open on the both the ends. So gut associated lymphoid tissue protect the body from pathogenic organisms. Galls are two types. One is pair patches and diffuse population of immune cells. The gall prevent the entry of organisms from gut into the body. Acidic secretion of the stomach also prevents entry of organisms through oral route. So the gut has a bacterial intestinal flora. Many non-pathogenic bacteria inhabited intestine. They form the normal bacterial flora of intestine. This normal flora is essential for many intestinal functions like epithelial cells, permeability to electrolytes and water, synthesis and absorption of vitamins, stimulation of enzymatic activity, peristalsis, and mucus secretion. Decreased flora impairs intestinal functions and increased flora increases the susceptibility to diarrhea and steatorrhea. These bacteria also detoxify many toxins present in the chyme and prevent their absorption into the bloodstream. Coming to parts of GI system. So GI tract begins with the mouth, oral cavity. Digestion of the food starts in mouth with chewing. Salivary glands open up into oral cavity and pour their secretion, the saliva into it. Salivary amylase helps in partial digestion of the complex sugars, that is polysaccharides. Oral cavity opens into pharynx, which in turn continues with the esophagus. Esophagus transmits food from oropharynx into stomach. Stomach is a bag-like structure that stores and grinds food, mixes the food with gastric juice. Hydrochloric acid and pepsin secreted in stomach help in partial digestion of proteins, and stomach converts food into chyme. Chyme from stomach enters intestine through pyloric sphincter by controlled gastric emptying. Small intestine is a 9 feet tube that extends from pyloric sphincter to the ileocecal wall. It consists of three parts: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Biliary and pancreatic secretions are poured into duodenum. Intestinal glands secrete succus entericus. Pancreatic and intestinal secretions are rich in various enzymes that cause digestion of carbohydrates, fat, and proteins. Absorption of the most of the nutrients takes place in the jejunum and ileum. Small intestinal motility propels the food into large intestine through ileocecal sphincter. Large intestine absorbs water and electrolyte and temporarily stores the concentrated and undigested material, which then enters in the rectum. Rectum, the final segment of large intestine, stores fecal matter and contracts when distended. Defecation reflex uh, relaxes the anal sphincter and expels feces from rectum to outside through the anal canal. So this diagram showing different parts of the digestive tract from the mouth, the salivary gland, esophagus, stomach, gallbladder, duodenum, pancreas, the different part of the small intestine, duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Okay, so then large intestine, uh, the ascending colon, descending colon, and rectum and anus. Structure of the wall of the GI tract. There are different parts of the GI tract. So in that, mucosa, submucosa, and serosa are important. Mucosa is the innermost part of the GI tract, which has epithelium, lamina propria, and muscularis mucosa. E- Epithelium. A single layer of epithelial cells line the mucosa. The cells are tightly bound to each other at their edges by tight junctions. The epithelium is mainly stratified squamous epithelium, and in stomach and intestine, mucosa is lined by simple columnar epithelium that facilitates secretion and absorption. At places, the epithelium contains endocrine glands, that is, enterochromaffin cells that secretes local hormone. So this is the diagram showing the different layers of the gut, the mucosa, submucosa, and the muscularis mucosa containing circular muscles, longitudinal muscles, and the outermost layer serosa. So this is the horizontal section of the GI tract, which is showing mucosa and muscularis externa, where mucosa contains the lining epithelium, lamina propria, and muscularis mucosa. We have submucosa, and muscularis externa contains a circular smooth muscle, longitudinal smooth muscle, and the outermost is serous layer. So lamina propria is just below the epithelium. In the lamina uh, is the lamina propria. It consisting mainly the loose connective tissue that contains collagen and elastin fibers. This sublayer is rich in blood vessels, lymph nodes, and lymphatic ducts, nerve fibers, and capillaries. This layer supports epithelium and also binds epithelium to muscularis mucosa. Lymphatic tissues present in this layer form a local immune system and prevent entry of pathogens that try to penetrate mucous membrane to enter into the body. Muscularis mucosa is the outermost layer of the mucosa, and uh, intestinal smooth muscles are present in this part of mucosa. The muscle fibers are arranged in two thin layers, inner circular and outer longitudinal. Contraction of the muscularis mucosa in the stomach and intestine throws the mucous membrane into folds and ridges. In the intestine, these mucosal folds are called plica that increase the surface area for the absorption. Contraction of muscularis mucosa in small intestine produces local movements that facilitates the process of digestion and absorption. Next to the mucosa is submucosa. It consists mainly loose connective tissue and highly vascular. The submucosal layer contains network of nerve fibers known as submucosal plexus or plexus of Meissner. Autonomic nerve fibers supplying muscles and blood vessels of GI tract closely interact with Meissner's plexus. In some regions, especially in intestine, submucosa contains lymphatic tissue. The muscular layer is called as muscularis externa. It consists of two layers of smooth muscle, inner circular and outer longitudinal layers. A nerve plexus is located between the muscle layers called as myenteric plexus or plexus of Orbach. Orbach's plexus contains fibers from both divisions of autonomic nervous system. Muscularis externa primarily controls the motility of GI tract that mixes and circulates the gastrointestinal contents and propels them along with the lumen of the tract. Serosal layer is the outermost layer of the GI tract. It contains mainly the thin layer of connective tissue covered with a layer of squamous mesothelial cells. It provides external protection to the GI tract. So this is showing different epithelial structures in esophagus, stomach, jejunum, large intestine, duodenum, and the ileum. Villi. In a small villi, from the luminal surface, the finger-like projection extend into lumen. So these are called as villi. The surface of each villi is covered with epithelial cell layer. Small projections arise from the surface of these epithelial cells. They are known as microvilli. Microvilli are collectively called as brush border. The total luminal surface of the human intestine is about 300 meters square. Intestinal epithelial cells are continuously replaced by new cells. About 17 billion epithelial cells are replaced every day, and the entire intestinal epithelium is replaced almost every 5 days. Center of each villi is occupied by lymphatics, which are called as lacteals, and capillaries, venules, and nerve fibers. Pairs patches. These are the aggregates of lymphoid tissue in the mucosal, submucosal regions of the intestinal wall. There are more, these are present more in ileum. They serve local immune functions in the intestine. They prevent organisms to enter bloodstream from intestinal lumen. They also secrete mediators of inflammation, that is cytokines that altered motility. These cytokines play a role in genesis of inflammatory bowel disease and Crohn's disease. Coming to innervation of GI tract, it is innervated by sympathetic and parasympathetic innervation. So stimulation of the sympathetic fibers to GIT generally inhibitory. Sympathetic innervation via non-adrenergic fibers having their cell bodies in the prevertebral and paravertebral chain of ganglia. The post-ganglionic fibers mainly originate from celiac, superior and inferior mesenteric ganglia. Usually, sympathetic fibers do not directly innervate the target GI tissues. Instead, they terminate on the neurons of intrinsic nerve plexus that in turn contact the target structures. Sympathetic stimulation results in inhibition of motor activity, resulting in relaxation of the smooth muscles, stimulation or contraction of the sphincters, and inhibition of GI secretions. Stimulation of sympathetic fibers to Stimulation of parasympathetic fibers to GI tract is usually stimulatory. Parasympathetic innervation is mainly through a vagus nerve, which innervates the GI tract from oral cavity to up to transverse colon. The remaining parts receive parasympathetic fibers from pelvic nerves. They terminate mainly on the intrinsic nerve plexuses. Parasympathetic stimulation results in uh, parasympathetic fibers are cholinergic and generally excitatory. The parasympathetic stimulation leads to increased motility and exocrine secretion of the GI tract. Coming to enteric nervous system is intrinsic nervous system of GI tract. This includes myenteric and submucosal nerve plexus of the GI tract. These two plexus are network of nerve fibers and ganglion cells. The neurons of these plexus are small interneurons that connect afferent neurons and efferent neurons to smooth muscles, secretory cells, and epithelial cells, and they form anatomical basis of local GI reflexes. The sympathetic and parasympathetic fibers project to the neurons of myenteric and submucosal plexuses and control GI activities via these neurons. The enteric nervous system is also known as a third division of autonomic nervous system. So this is the diagram showing the innervation of the GIT by sympathetic and parasympathetic neurons, that is enteric nervous system. So you can note the myenteric plexus and the submucosal plexus, which are innervated by sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Myenteric plexus, they are present between the muscle layer, whereas the Meissner's plexus, or also called as submucosal plexus, it is present in the mucosal layer. Enteric nervous system as a mini brain of the gut. They have a sensory neurons, interneurons, and motor neurons. Therefore, ENS loosely called as a mini brain of the gut. The interneurons signal the changes in the ENS, the motor fibers that alter the activities of the effector tissues like smooth muscles, glandular cells, and epithelial cells and vascular cells. The neurotransmitters are acetylcholine, a primary neurotransmitter in the preganglionic and postganglionic neurons that regulates secretory and motor activities of the GI tract. So others like VIP, serotonin, enkephalin, substance P, norepinephrine, GABA, ATP, nitric oxide, carbon monoxide uh, play a very important role in the regulation of the GI functions. So this is how the gut brain is organized. Okay, so the myenteric and orblex plexus, they are innervated by the sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions of the central nervous system. They are in turn going to regulate the functions of smooth muscle, secretory cells, or the glands, and they are going to regulate the epithelial cell function. Sphincters are specialized circular muscles that present at the beginning and the end of the gut structure. The sphincters regulate antegrade, that is forward movement of the foot, and prevent retrograde, that is reverse expulsion of the same. There are 6 sphincters in the GI tract: upper esophageal sphincter, lower esophageal sphincter, pyloric sphincter, ileocecal sphincter, internal anal, and external anal sphincter. So there is another sphincter located in the wall of duodenum, which is called as sphincter of Oddi, that regulates the secretion of bile and pancreatic juice into intestine. GI immune system. An extensive immune mechanism is developed in GI system, which is called as gastrointestinal immune system. So this system includes mesenteric lymph nodes, pairs, patches, that is aggregation of the lymphatic tissue in the submucosa, phagocytic cells and immunocytes present in the mucosa and submucosa throughout the GIT tract. The immunological cells in GI system constitute about 50% of the total immunocytes in the body. Immunocytes in the GI tract are B and T cells and epithelial lymphocytes, plasma cells, mast cells, and macrophages. So these cells secretes chemical that mediate immunological and inflammatory responses in GI tract. They secrete antibodies locally in response to antigen that enter through the GI tract. The other chemicals secreted by immunocytes are leukotrienes, cytokines, prostaglandins, and histamine. These chemicals not only mediate immunological responses but also influence activities of small muscles of GI tract. GI immune system plays important role in the pathogenesis of inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis. So principles of GI tract uh, function. So they are regulated by the neural regulation. The digestive system is regulated by nerves arising locally in the GI tract, that is intrinsic neural control, and the nerves innervating the gut, that is extrinsic neural control. Intrinsic nerves of GI system form enteric nervous system, sometimes called as a third component of autonomic nervous system. As I told, the nerves are arranged in the submucosal layer as Meissner's plexus and in the muscle layer as the Auerbach's plexus. Okay, so they are called as submucosal or the muscular mind plexus, respectively. The Meissner's plexus forms the sensory functions and Auerbach's performs the motor functions. The intrinsic neurons mediate the local or short reflexes. The intrinsic nerve plexes are connected and controlled by extrinsic nerves. Extrinsic neural regulation. Extrinsic nerves regulating GI functions belong to the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. Sympathetic system to the GI tract is inhibitory and the parasympathetic system is stimulatory. The extrinsic nerve mediate long reflexes. There are two types of neural reflexes that operate in GI system: short local reflexes and long central reflexes. Afferent pathway in the GIT form afferent limb for both local and central reflexes. There are many chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors in the mucosa and muscularis mucosa that are extensively connected to intrinsic plexuses. Actions of these receptors mediate local reflex activity. So this is this diagram showing the short reflex and long loop reflex, where any stimulus in the GI tract, okay, so it is going to stimulate the receptor and it is going to act on the nerve plexus within the gut wall. Okay, so that acts on the smooth muscle. The contraction of the smooth muscle will lead to a response by changing the GI motility and secretion. Whereas any stimulus, when receptors are activated, they go to the central nervous system through the afferent neurons, and where these neurons are also affected by the higher functions, okay, and the efferent neurons through the enteric nervous system leads to a response. So that is called as a long loop reflex. Hormonal regulation. So intrinsic hormone. Many hormones are secreted from endocrine cells of GI tract. These hormones are called as GI hormones. They mainly act on the paracrine fashion. Many hormones also have a systemic function. Therefore, GI tract is sometimes designated as an endocrine organ. GI hormones also influenced by hormones secreted from the other endocrine glands like thyroxine, cortisol. Thyroxine stimulates the intestinal motility, whereas cortisol stimulates acid secretion from the parietal cells of the stomach. So these are called as extrinsic hormones. So this is in brief about uh, the functional organization of GI tract. Thank you.